It's snowing again. Not surprising, really. It's Canada and it's winter. But we're on the west coast and usually we spared a lot of the bad weather. And specifically we're on the Sunshine Coast. And so, you know, we don't get too much snow in a year. And the temperatures aren't that bad, really. I suppose of an evening we're getting down to about -3, 4, 5, something like that, which is, you know, you can live with that. That's not too bad. Anyway, in the last video I talked about and I showed you the I gave you a brief introduction to the outside of the property here that we're selling to fund our permanent move to France. For those who are new to the channel, we are buying a chateau. It's all exciting stuff. So we're selling our property here, and I did promise that I was going to show you the inside. It's focusing particularly on the extension that I built above, not out. Couldn't increase the footprint of the property, so I moved up. I'm not going to go into great detail on the inside. I'm not going to show you a whole lot because, frankly, the details, the sales details, are really quite extensive on this property. We have 2 houses here for sale on about 3 acres, and I'll put a link in the description so you can actually see those concise details, all the internal shots, external shots, drone shots, etc. But I thought you might be interested in seeing how I built the extension, up. It's always interesting for me to look back and see comparison shots because the whole dynamic of the upstairs changed on this house, and sometimes you look at old pictures of how it was before and it's hard to reconcile, you know, how it is now compared to how it was then. So I'll try and set up a few shots side by side so you can see the huge changes. For anybody thinking about doing something like that, just do it, really. I mean, it sounds, and when you take the roof off, it sounds as though it's just a big deal, but I suppose at the time it was, really. But systematically, thoroughly, one step at a time, it's doable. It really is doable, and it made such a huge difference to this house inside. Anyway, let me show you what I've got. See what you think. I am going to show you how we went from that to that. Massive change in that property. When we bought this house, I mean, a lot of people, including the realtor, looked at us as though we were mental, because there was a lot of it. I mean, it's 3 acres and goodness knows 2 houses, but neither of the houses were in particularly good order. And I came to view it. Mrs. M was in Europe, and I came to view the property on my own. And I remember thinking, I pulled into the drive and looked at this place, and it was a disaster. It was an estate sale because the previous occupant had passed away, and it was in disarray. And but I started to grin. I just grinned, and it's one of those weird feelings when you just look at something and you go, yeah, I like this. So we I guess it was probably a couple of months later, we'd bought it, got the keys, and set about putting it right. And the first thing to do was to renovate the apartment down in the coach house, because we at least had somewhere to live. And then I set to kind of rebuilding this place. And this was the start of the project. We couldn't extend out. we could only go up. And I'm just going to give you a brief overview and the stages. I'm really quite brief. The stages of how I went about doing it. And at the end of the video, I'm going to embarrass myself because it's fast approaching Valentine's. Mrs. M is again in Europe, and she's missing. She's missing us. Well, she's missing the dogs. Yeah, I'm going to send her a little Valentine's message at the end if you want to stick around and watch me embarrass myself. So there you go. So how do we get from that to that? Well, the first thing we did was get a bunch of permits for it in this part of the world. We got a piece of paper and drew what we needed, and we took it to an engineer, an architect, who drew it again, and got in touch with the engineers who drew up a set of plans. And we got stuck in, really. This is the internals before weird configuration. This sloping wall here, and more will become apparent later. This sloping wall with the purlings. So these were the purlings that were holding up the roof timbers. This was a closet. This door here led out onto a balcony of sorts. So it was just not nice. It was kind of weird sloping wall, and it wasn't fit for purpose. This was actually from inside the room looking out onto the, I guess it's a landing, and another bedroom across, which I've also attended to. So it wasn't nice. It wasn't a nice place. There's another shot of this weird pantry. This actually, from here, led round the back of this wall into kind of some storage. It's just strange. And, well, just not nice at all. I mean, Mrs. M and I, we're not frightened of taking some chances. We're not frightened of having a go. We're kind of, we're brave souls. And we knew that we could make it really nice. So in our relationship, Mrs. M has the vision, and I just do as I'm told. So I was set about pulling it apart. These are the purlings that I talked about. Through there, you can see, through the plastic, you can see the chimney. We've got 2 chimneys in this house. And the chimneys, when I uncovered them, are really, really nice. The way that houses are built here in Canada, basically you put your foundations down, then you build your chimneys, and then you build a house around the chimneys. And what that shows, if there's anything wrong with the foundations at all, the stresses of the house around it will crack the chimneys. These chimneys have remained, the house is it was built in 1975, so it's 50 years old now, this house. And it hasn't moved. Hasn't moved a fraction. It's wonderfully well engineered. So I mean, this is, people say about demo day. You hear demo day on the TV a lot. I hate demo day with a passion, because you're unearthing all sorts of crud. There was 50 years of critters had been making the homes in this stuff, so it smelled bad. It was full of feces and it was just horrible. Wear a mask, people. I've watched programs where people don't wear a mask, and not just one of these, these cardboard things. Get a proper respirator type, because you don't want to be breathing any of this lot in. It's awful. So taking it apart, as you can see here, this pipe here is a vent pipe from downstairs toilet. Well, that's no good, is it? You don't want that there. So that had to be moved. And in fact, it was moved. So I took this vent pipe along that way. It had a slight rise on it. So, these were 10-inch 2x10s. So you're able to get enough rise on that to take it behind, so under the floor, and then up again at the other side. Nicely, the owners left us this. Don't know what that is, but it was there. So you can see the balcony out there. This roof of sorts, and it was horrible shady wood. And I haven't got a picture of it, but all the planking out there was terrible as well. So it all had to be renewed. And that is, it's just basically everything's ripped out. So everything, we haven't started on the roof at this stage. Notice the chimney. Again, the chimney is beautiful. And I made a feature of that, which you'll see in the finished shot. But all this, all out now, all the flooring, actually started here, laying down the new flooring in the bathroom because it needed an ensuite. And so I've put down new 2x10s actually, I think they were. But basically everything is now all out, apart from the last bit of insulation. It's all taken out, and it's time to start on the ceiling. Now this is the bit where you need metal, because there's no going back once you've got to this stage. Once you take your skill saw and take off that ceiling, there ain't no going back. And we picked today, we picked a part of the year in summer, which, it's one thing knowing that, or chances are it's not going to rain, but it's also summer. And working on a roof in summer, oh, that was terrible. It was tough. So basically, I started at something like 7 o'clock in the morning. By 1 o'clock, it was just too hot to work. But you can see everything now started to come out. Just threw it over the edge. A lot of the stuff, as I say, I threw over the balcony down below there. I had a couple of tarpaulins to hand because I think we only had 1 day of rain, or maybe 2 days of rain, over the period where you had to have it watertight. So I think I really did quite well. Lucky, I think. I mean, there was nobody living in the house. We were down in the apartment, but you don't want to get the existing drywall wet, because then you're creating more work for yourself. So yeah, off comes the roof, and there's no going back now. Obviously the next step is putting in a new ridge, and that is a land beam, and that was 3 foot wide by 6 inches thick and was heavy. That was a heavy piece of timber, which I was lucky really, because there was a guy at a crane company who was just round the corner there, and I think he charged me, I don't know, he charged me something like $600, I think, to lift that in place. It would have been impossible to do by, labour. Even if I'd have got half a dozen blokes from the gym to give me a hand, it was just never going to happen. And I think dropping that beam into place, it probably took less than an hour. And you can see, in order to support it, because we've still got to have a bunch of posts fitted yet, so I'd rigged up some supports here. You've got to make sure all the ends of these are cut so that they're going to sit. So when this goes in, this is where the measuring comes in handy. What is it? Measure twice, cut once. So that when it's sat in place, it abutted all these. So got to make sure you get your angles right. And of course, at this stage, I had to support every single one of these roofing timbers, even though they were all going to be not replaced, but I had to sister in stronger variants. Because don't forget, there were purlings here, which supported the weight of this ceiling, this roof. It ran the weight down to the flooring joists, and in order to open up the space and make it bigger, obviously the purlings had to come out. So you got to think about this in advance, I suppose. Didn't want this roof falling down as well. You can see there now that it's landed. That beam has landed, sat on its 2 supports. All these 2x4s will eventually come out, but they're just holding it up at the moment. Yeah, a lot of firewood involved. And we now started to put it back. So all these now are 2x10s. These are 2x10s, again lamb beams, lamb joists. I mean, weighed a lot, but very, very strong. And you can see I've already started to think about the openings for the windows here. So there's a window at this side, behind here, a window there, which is actually going to be in the dressing room. 1, 2, 3 large openings. And I made the window frames out of the old roofing timbers, because that timber had been up there a long time. It was solid. It was not going to move anyway. It's snuff dry. And I think it was hemlock. It was really wonderful to make window frames. And of course, you don't have to buy it, and you're kind of recycling. You're not wasting anything. So they went together quite nicely. Again, similar pictures, shows the openings there. And most of the floor is now gone down on the... these are actually the existing floor joists. Didn't need to replace those at all. You can see from this side that joist, that ridge is now in place. Once this floor goes down, you can start thinking about taking these supports out. Sister in new roof joists to hold this roof up. And that is actually, there isn't a lot. I mean, it's probably a fortnight between the last picture. Probably 2 weeks between this one and that one. Because now you see all the new roofs gone in, all the new insulation's gone in. And it's so well insulated, this room. It's winter now. I don't bother putting the heater on. I don't put the heat on in this room. Don't need to. Got a heat pump fitted, which really is great for summer because it cools the room down. But in winter, it's so well insulated that it's not necessary. Heat really isn't necessary. So yeah, a massive leap forward here. So all the new outside wall. Now this is not a flat roof. It's still about 7.5 foot at this end. But I'm not, I mean, obviously people might say that, no, flat roofs are great, they've no problem at all, but I'm not a big fan of flat roofs. I don't want water sitting up there. So there was a very slight slope on that to allow the water to run off. And I've put gutters at the end to channel the water down into the land drain. So yeah. Really starting to come together now. These windows, the local post office was being renovated, and they pulled out all the windows. And I bought 3 for something like, they're like $20 each, and they're aluminium. And I took them apart, sprayed them black, put them back again. Look really fantastic. And similarly, these doors here, the patio doors, because I redid the balcony. Put new balcony rails on. That's why this is black, because I stood them up against that and sprayed them. New deck on. These doors ultimately sprayed black, because the whole theme of the house, I guess, is black and cedar. I think it just looks nice. So yeah, really coming together now on the downward slope. And again, from that to that, you're talking a week. Really quickly now. It goes really quickly. Now, I did all the drywalling, and I got to tell you, I'm not a fan of drywalling. It's horrible, but it's easy. Is it easy? It's easy if you're not in a rush. If you're in a rush, get a professional to do it, because they'll do it in half the time that you will. But if you're not up against it time-wise, do it yourself. Just make sure that you feather it well, systematically, and don't think for 1 second that you will not have to sand it. You'll have to sand it. I mean, professionals don't. I'm sure they don't sand. They just, final sand at the end. But don't feel bad if you've got to sand it. And you'll get I mean, I bought a motorbike with the money that seriously, I bought a motorbike with the money that I saved doing it myself. Because the professionals here, they get it done and dusted. All this would have been done in 3 days, I guess. I don't know. They're in and out, but they charge a lot of money. And I'm always one for doing things. I won't pay anybody to do anything that I can't do myself. There's only 2 things I won't do. Electrical work and gas work. And with gas, I don't have to use them very often, but I have the best electrician in the world. And I've done a video recently about how to keep your tradespeople. I think I've titled it, because I'm a cabinet maker, I've entitled it How Not to Piss Off Your Cabinet Maker, I think it was, something like that. And basically what to do to keep them. And, you put all those things in practice. My electrician now will come round and do a job at the drop of a hat. If it's a huge job, if it's a big job, I've got to, plan it a little bit, because, he's still got to earn money. But if it's a small job, he'll be there, he'll do it, he'll sort it. And he's now, we didn't know him when we first came here, and he's now become a friend of the family. He's fantastic. He's very thorough, and he's an asset to us. And I know, because I've put all these things into practice that I talked about in the video, I know that he will never let us down. Will never let us down. He's magnificent. And the last picture, I think, basically gives you, it's the same again, but it's you notice that we kept the beam exposed, put some lights behind it. Now, Mrs. M will suggest to anybody that wants to listen that I am an untidy worker. And when you work on your own, you can afford to be. I know where everything is. It's there. Although I probably spend 25% of my working day looking for the tool that I've just put down. Which is, it's one of those things. So there you have it. That's, in a nutshell, it's not, trust me when I say, it's not beyond. If you know how to join 2 pieces of wood together, don't be frightened of it. Don't be frightened of it. Just take it nice and steady, 1 step at a time, and go for it. It's amazing. And I'll show you in the next few minutes the finished article before I move on to embarrassing myself. We've turned something with Mrs. M's vision and me being able to join a couple of pieces of wood together. We've turned a disaster area into a wonderful space. If you think it's a wonderful space, I'll let you be the judge of that. Okay, so let's go take a look, shall we? Onwards and upwards. First, keep an eye out. So funny that the dogs absolutely will not go up these stairs. This house was never designed to have an upstairs, so I had to be creative, and we make this little thing to open up the room as well. And funnily, the dogs just don't like going up it, which is good because we don't mind in a chateau. We'll have dogs upstairs in a chateau, but here, no. I had that made for Al's. That's Sid. I had it commissioned for a birthday, I think. Anna Green. Google Anna Green. I think they're great. Okay, so I hope maybe this has given you some inspiration. If nothing else, it goes to show what you can do with a little bit of imagination. It looks like a big project, but as I said earlier, it's you just knuckle down and just get on with it. And we're really pleased with the outcome. It's a nice space, and we've gone from this to this, and from this to this. I hope you've enjoyed the little tour. I'm not, as I said before, I'm not going to go into great detail about showing you the rest of the property. I'll put a link to the realtor's very thorough set of details in the description, so you can take a look if you're interested in any more information on this property. But in the meantime, we'll move straight on to the embarrassing bit. I hope you enjoyed. Catch you next time. Okay, so it's fast approaching Valentine's Day, and Mrs. M is away in Europe, and she's missing us. Well, she's missing him and the other two, and so to make her feel a little bit better, Jack has tried to convince me that I should send her a little message. So he's going to help, and with the help of a perfectly placed chew stick, not wishing to keep his attention focused at all, here's a little message, an embarrassing probably little message to Mrs. M. I wanna make you smile when you're feeling sad, carry you around when your arthritis is bad. All I wanna do is grow old with you. I'll bring you medicine when your body aches, build you a fire if the furnace breaks. It would be so nice growing old with you. I'll miss you, I'll kiss you, bring you a coat when you are cold, need you, feed you, even let you hold the remote control. So let me do the dishes in our kitchen sink, I'll carry you to bed when you've had too much to drink. I could be the man growing old with you. I wanna grow old with you. Happy Valentine's, Mrs. M. Oh, all right. Yeah.